Cool.
Yes. Hey, Max, how you doing, man? Thank you so much for agreeing to do this with me.
Hey Howard. Yeah, I'm fine and thanks. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. Really cool. How are you?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. I've got all kinds of things going on and meeting all kinds of new people and friends and everything. And I was so happy to see you the other day that I think I just slobbered all over you like a puppy and said, "Hey, man, let's do one of these links." And I'm
Okay.
so glad you said yes.
Well, yeah, sure.
So, what have you been doing, brother?
Um, Not much. I mean, I moved since last time we talked. So, because I used to live in Ireland, now we're in France. And so it's a lovely spot. Can't complain, to be honest. And pretty much in nature. So that's what we wanted. So that's nice. And otherwise, I've been busy this year with doing one group Zoom group meetings and one-to-one meetings with in French. Like I get like I don't know. 3, 4, 5 one-to-ones a day, depending on the day. So that's really it's really going
Wow, that's amazing.
and yeah, it's I was the first surprised, to be honest. It's been about a year since it's picked up, like that. And yeah, it's quite nice, quite enjoyable. So it's just yeah, yeah, people. I don't know. I don't know. It's sort of people looking for something, and then we just get to chat. It's just a discussion like we're having now, really, to be honest. And except on the other hand, on the other side, there's mm, call it someone seeking, call it, if that makes sense. And yeah, that's about it, really. And it's just fun. I have fun anyway, for sure. So
Absolutely. It's difficult to say sometimes.
mhm.
The seeking aspect. You're like, what does that mean? Like for me,
Yeah,
um, for me, I don't know about you, but for me, often it's somebody that's confused or angry or upset.
yeah.
Yeah, something like that. How would you describe a seeker?
Just I don't know. It would be, yeah, confused. Suffering. There's a level of what is this? you know
Yeah,
Basically. What the hell is going on? And
right.
it's what the hell is going on, and I must know
Yeah,
that's how I would describe the seeking, really. But it really depends. I mean, the type of characters, let's say, of people that come talk to me is so broad. That it's not like there's a generic anything whatsoever. So sometimes but I mean what I would say is generic is that they're looking for enlightenment.
yeah,
They're suffering in some aspects of their life, and they want to get rid of that very suffering.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's quite magical, because it's I don't know, just by talking, people seem to hear something. What I mean? Like it's and that I mean I can't really. I mean, I can try and explain what happens, but I can't really explain it. It's just it it is just it's kind of a feeling of saying the thing that will hit,
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the spur of the moment, obviously.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
And it's no more no less than a game for me, to be entirely honest. And which is, but it's yeah, it's just fun. But it is really, really, really nice to see someone's face literally light up, or because because I have no idea why or how
Mm.
or whatever seems to happen. But there seems to be a, a dropping of I don't want to call it contraction, because heard that term way too much, and it kind of like
The beauty of it
but
is, yeah,
you know what I mean? I mean that's yeah. It's just at some point people hear something it seems like I can't say they stop suffering. It wouldn't even be accurate to say that, but but they stop seeking, perhaps.
yeah,
I guess that's the right way to put it. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and I don't know. I mean, it's like it's funny because you know I mean honestly I don't look at other speakers or whatever like not much anyway. But there seems to be so. I mean, I think there's a lot more new ones that talk exactly like the what is referred to as radical non-duality or whatever, and I find it so boring, being honest. I mean, some
it is.
of them no, but it's really some of them, but most of them it's like, oh, it's like, you know, I
Well,
mean, as far as I'm concerned, I've always been um, inclined to talk to people and kind of point at something which I never knew what it was, and never, you know, but you know what I mean. So it's like
absolutely.
it's always been like that for me. And then when I see those guys, I'm like, don't you have something else to do? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, dude.
And I
Yeah.
mean, no offense, but it's like, do you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I think that yes, I do know what you mean, exactly what you mean. Um, and I'm the one thing that I would like to give, like in my case, I like to give props to Andreas Mueller, simply because he was the one that made it. I resonated with him as far as the bare bones of what
Hmm.
non-duality means in a radical sense of it, and not having to go through all the clutter. And now, on the other hand, I had the one who opened the door for me was Nancy Neithercut. However, she's way more flowery and poetic, and I resonated with her beautifully. But at the same time, it was the combination of those two, the flowery language of the poet, and then the bare bones of the of Andreas that helped me see what non-duality meant in the broader scope of
Yeah.
thousands of genres, you know. So but it allowed me to verbalize what I had seen, what I was going through, and still to this day, um, dealing with, all the time, and that, you know, um, you're trying to verbalize what it is you appear to be experiencing and all this other kind of stuff. And for me, it got, it became very fun for a while there, um, because
Yeah.
I thought I had found a bunch of peers, and then I realized that no, everybody. The weirdest thing about non-duality is that for me, nobody ever saw it the same way, But
No,
now
no,
I found that I found this,
it's impossible. It's just
yeah, yeah,
impossible.
and then I found this group of people that all talk about it the same way because they found this one particular niche about how to explain it in that way. I resonated. Like, I was glad a friend of mine had turned me on to Andreas, and then that allowed me to come up with another language, um, and use my own, use the poetry aspect of me as Nancy does, and then have a bare bones understanding of what the mystics have been, talking about through the centuries and all of that, using loose language of my own, of course. And
Yeah.
yeah, so that allowed me also to infiltrate this genre uh, that I would never, up until that point, entertain. As far as I didn't think that we were talking about the same thing, but now that I see, yeah, I see that
Yeah, it's the same thing.
It opened up an
Yeah.
audience. Yeah, it opened up a group
Yeah.
of people that by and large I would never have met without that and how all of that came to be was fascinating, and it all tied into my story and everything, and it was a beautiful thing. And so now, yeah, I'm with you, man. Though I am grateful for those initial uh doors being open,
Mhm.
the veils never stop dropping, and you move forward, you move on, and you just keep growing and trying to explain what you are in the moment about. So it doesn't have
Yeah.
anything to do with what I said 10 years ago, or what I said 40 years
No.
ago, or
Mm.
what I'm going to say in 10 minutes. It has to do with
Yeah.
the moment and enjoying it.
Yeah. But that's it, exactly. It's you cannot pinpoint uh, anything but
Right.
what's being said right this very moment always. And so I guess that's the magic of it. It's there's a um I don't know. I mean, I really enjoy. I don't enjoy talking about it per se. I enjoy talking to the individual seeking. Does that make sense? Like that's really like the aspect of Max, if I may say,
But
of
it's the oddest thing. I had a friend the other day call me, and he was having a really tough time. She was struggling, and it turned out that he's just always resonated with how I write, how I,
uh-huh.
how I write and stuff. And it turns out that you know, he doesn't mind, that I know how to say things a little bit better
Yeah.
than him, so he kind of sits. He likes that, that we
Uh-huh.
can talk in this way, and he says most people, most of my life, I would say something and they think that I'm, the weirdest freak in the world, and people think that I'm crazy and I'm afraid to talk. But with you, I can talk to you about it. I mean, I can literally say the thing that I will not say, and you will
Hmm.
say, "Oh yeah," and say, "Yeah," and it
That's
goes deeper.
beautiful.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and to be able, so like he doesn't mind
Hmm.
saying that he resonates with me, and which I found the first time he said it, I was like, wow, that was kind of weird. But it's not the first time. But the beautiful thing about that is that I've grown a little more accustomed to it,
Hmm.
uh, and
It's
they
it's it's a lovely thing to hear. I mean, to share
absolutely,
even to
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
amazing because he's not like saying he's like, look, I don't know how else to tell you. I don't know how else to say it, but like I like the way you say things, and for some reason you make me feel better. And
yeah.
I was like,
That's
wow,
wonderful.
yeah. I mean,
That
about the
is
nicest thing
that's
anybody could ever say to you. You know what I mean?
but
So
I was about to say it for me that's what it's about at the end of the day. It's just of course there's actually there's something you wrote regularly. I actually look at your posts. I really like your writing and recently and I'm not going to paraphrase what you said. Okay, I'm not going to even try that.
oh,
Okay,
dude,
but
I can't
but
even remember what I said. Yeah,
but
yeah,
you said something in the vein of after quite at the end of a rather long post, always further, my friend, something like that,
yeah.
and I loved it because that is an aspect that I don't see much written
Well,
about or said about, it is true. It is always. I mean, it's always simply this, and it's always simply further. I mean,
yeah.
does that make
It's that
sense?
paradox.
It's
It's the
yeah,
paradox that
that's it exactly.
because
Yeah,
you cannot know,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
because you cannot know, it doesn't mean that you're exploring,
No,
you're going further. Another veil will drop. It has nothing to do with what you're doing
no,
outside of your
no.
understanding. Something else will drop, and you'll come to a new perspective or a perception, and you're like, wow.
Exactly.
and something else will happen to just clarify everything and just make it beautiful. And it doesn't necessarily ever have to be the same thing. It just veils
No,
drop. And
that's it.
you know, to say that the last veil that dropped was the last veil that's going to drop, and there are no veils that drop. Well, whatever. However, I like to the combination of the idea that I can't know anything. Literally, knowledge itself does
Mm,
not exist. This is an illusion regarding an absolute of which we have none, other than that there is no absolute. And so,
yeah.
to play with this illusion to exceed what seems to be experience, um, realizing that experience itself is not existence as it appears. It's not experience as subject object. We are not observer and observed. And
Nope.
so you and I are not separate and all of that. And to think that, oh, okay, well, I know all of that. So I don't have to think about any of that. So it's just this and blah, 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 is to say that the totality of your understanding is the totality of the
Of
appearance.
everything.
And I,
Yeah.
and that may be to a certain degree paradoxical in that if you're saying that things that don't happen beyond your understanding um, don't happen, it's just this or whatever. Well, you're saying on the one hand that your understanding is the totality of what appears, but then on the other hand, that um, to say that things that don't go beyond your understanding don't appear, it would be that there's no appearance because this doesn't. This is not an appearance. There's no object subject looking at an object. There's nothing looking at anything, right? There's no
Mm,
space between anything. So
mm,
nobody's got eyes to see. And the thing is that so it's not even an appearance. So
no.
to explain what seems to be happening in this moment, and which is not even a moment, um, it's not space and time. So to even explain it is impossible. There are no questions or answers in the strictest sense. And so to say that it is just this um, as an appearance is to for me it just seems so ludicrous because I have a subjective understanding of something that's separate from me, but has no foundation in an absolute, declaring what is and is not possible or impossible. When
Mm,
impossible and impossible are likely, like very likely, just um, illusions about subject and object. There are
yeah.
no limits in regards to what
Brilliant.
can appear, and yeah, it becomes one of these things to say that it is just this or there's nothing, to ponder. Is
It,
paradoxically, uh, it's one of those things where
it's it.
it feels
I
like a nullification. It feels like somebody's
yeah.
trying to tell you that
I
you're
I think I think this is. I mean, to as a generic message to people that have been seeking everywhere and everywhere and everywhere, it can come in very, very boom. Here's your wall. See, here's
yeah,
your boom. You
yeah,
cannot go and you
yeah,
will not
right.
go
This is
beyond
it.
it. There is
Yeah,
and in that way, I think it can be it can come in very, very handy, very, very useful. Um, but it is just one explanation.
yeah,
I
exactly. It's
mean,
just
it is just
one way to
one explanation.
look at it.
It's just
Right.
exactly, and that's
Yeah.
and I think if you're, I don't know, some people say it's just a resonance. I mean, sure, I hear that, but there is, I mean, there is a resonance or there isn't. I mean, when I was just listening to you, and it's just it's simply as music to my ears on the spur of the moment. It's just because I'm like, boom, 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 boom. Does that make sense? And and I mean, in you saying to say it's just this, that it's basically it's just a kind of a nullification. And I mean, I would say it's all this.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
do
Well,
you know what I mean?
well,
It's
yeah. It's like the experience beyond experience. In the first place, we're not experiencing something, right? So beyond
Mhm.
what appears to be experience happens, and the thing is like, well, that can't happen for an appearance because you don't exist in the first place, so you can't have an experience. Well, if I'm an appearance that is not even experiencing anything, where are the rules to what can and cannot be? See, this is the thing. The with that aspect of it, as simple as it is and beautiful in its own right, just one aspect. In that, yes, it can be that way sometimes. It is that way sometimes. I
Yeah,
have
absolutely.
seen, I have
Mhm.
seen it as the expression that they talk about. But I've also seen it as an expression that expresses itself.
Mhm.
You are an expression that expresses itself at other times, and then you are completely anarchistically free at other times, and then there is space and time at other times. It is beyond anarchistically completely totally free in that it is so free that it can appear as confinement at times because
Yeah.
it will not, you cannot inhibit it in any way. It is not this, it is not that, it is not free, it's not
Mhm.
confined. Because if you say it's just free, then you're saying, well, it can't be confined, but it can show itself to be
Mhm.
any way it wants. And there is literally nothing um, stopping it from being and appearing whatever in the whisper of an eye. It doesn't take force, it doesn't take it's not cause and effect, it's none
No.
of that stuff, and it just happens effortlessly. It has
No.
nothing to do with what we would consider energy or cause and effect.
No.
It's
No. Yeah.
truly magnificent, Max.
I was about to say it truly is magnificent. Exactly. It truly
I
is
mean, I love
magnificent.
you, brother. I'm so
I
happy
love
to
you
be here
too.
with you,
I
man.
love you too.
It's just so beautiful.
Oh, yeah, you too.
I miss you, man. I mean, I love the first talks we had.
Mm.
Gosh, got to be a couple years ago now, at least.
Probably
And
about 2 years ago. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
2 years. And I just love the talks that we had, and I'm so glad that you're back in France. And
No, thank
what's
you.
the name of the thing you're doing now?
Well, I mean, I just talk. It's just if look, I put up videos on my French YouTube, and the most of them are either group talks or one-to-ones, and so each video will have a title, obviously. But I couldn't give you I don't know what I do. Does that make sense? I mean,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's
No,
just
I love it. Yeah,
we're talking, we're talking.
yeah.
The uh, people come talk to me and they wanna they I think what happens is there is this at some point it's like a puzzle, right?
Yeah.
Except it's not. There's nothing puzzling. It's
Mhm.
just I see the individual, what they believe to be their own individuality that is stuck somewhere, and
Mhm.
for me it's just very obvious how to show to point to that which believes it's stuck, believes it has a problem, believes it's
Yeah.
suffering, believes it, but and so it's just showing the other side to it, which they cannot seem to see, which is yet unmissable. The thing for me is it's all unmissable. It's all this. It's all this.
Yeah.
You can't miss anything because you're living it
Right.
always,
Right.
regardless how you look at it, regardless if you don't look at it, regardless there's no one, there's someone, regardless the explanation, regardless the lack thereof.
Mhm. Oh, I
It's
agree.
all this. You cannot miss it. So for me, it's just I don't know. It's really pointing to that other person where it's stuck. It's like a mirror, really, and then they cannot not see. And sometimes they come talk to me the second or a third time, but in a lot of cases they come talk to me once, and like, for lack of a better word, that's it. Like
Yeah.
the I don't know if the seeking stops or whatever, but the search
Mhm.
ends or something like that,
Mhm.
or as a serious thing anyway, as a suffering. So that's what I do in a nutshell. So I wouldn't know how to call it, right? But
Yeah.
that's what I do. That's what I do, and it's working really well. It's like I said. I mean, I get so many people from with so many. What I love is that there's only different backgrounds. Like I even have had recently people that were diagnosed schizophrenic,
Oh
and what
gosh. Yeah.
and I found that amazing, because what I found, and I don't want to generalize something which cannot be, but in my experience talking to a few of individuals that were diagnosed schizophrenic, the difference with pretty much anyone else is they can hear in a heartbeat what you say,
Yeah.
as opposed to people questioning it again and again and again and
Oh,
again and again to
it's
themselves.
amazing, Max.
And I find that I find that sensational. It's just amazing. So
Well,
there's a love for it, I would say. Hmm?
at first, I would say that I was off put by, a lot of the people that I do talk to have, at the very least, a history of counseling, or
Hmm.
they've been put in mental institutions or been diagnosed schizophrenic. Um, and some of them, are certifiable. But the what really made me step back was the intellect involved with some of these people that I'm dealing with. That um,
Hmm.
as intelligent and as beautiful and as
Hmm.
articulate as they are,
Hmm.
people just cannot handle what they're saying, and
Happens.
then they end up getting there's all kinds of nightmare situations. But then again, in the defense of the system at large, there are those that are in need of help. I mean,
Yeah.
there just is. So it's a funny uh, place to be. Almost like, be careful what you wish for, because I've always I've always wondered, maybe it's just, if for no other reason, if I could just make somebody feel good, you know, in a
Hmm.
day,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just doesn't have to be that way, but and it doesn't have to mean anything at all. One
No.
appearance making another appearance feel good, and so I can help out. Maybe
Yeah.
what's wrong with that,
But
and
that's it exactly for me. It's really. I mean, I wouldn't call that therapy or something, because it's not, right. It really isn't. But there's there's an aspect of help, but in all in a totally different way
well,
to
like with the fellow the other day, he was, the guy was crying, and I love this kid, and I love this guy, and he was just having one of those days, and
yeah,
I was able to talk to him for a few minutes. We were laughing and joking and goofing around, and that's kind of makes everything worthwhile, because you know you put yourself out there. Sometimes it doesn't work out so well. I
yeah,
mean, it resonate with everybody, and there are people out there that are truly, they're in their own space. There's nothing you can do about it. But then there are those times when you can actually, and it's selfish in that I feel good, when I actually can help someone. So, and it doesn't
yeah,
have to mean anything but what it is. There's just a
yeah,
guy that's crying, and now he's laughing, and we're having
yeah.
a good time. He's made me feel good. I made him feel good. Everything's fine. It doesn't have to be anything more than that. Um, and
That's
I
it.
think
Yeah.
that, yeah. And so, it I find the teaching regarding a lack of hope. I've been criticized. Oh, you're just giving people hope, and I'm like, well, what's wrong with that? I mean, the idea that there is no hope would be nothing appearing. I mean, to my mind, anything appearing is hopeful. Okay. The fact that I have a loose conglomeration of an identity called Howard that really doesn't explain much, and it definitely doesn't in its own nature obscures any kind of pinpoint actuality in regards to existence, what is life, any of that.
Well,
And then to move beyond that into the non-dualistic realm, and then to move beyond that, something or not, something is what appears obvious. Nothing is the negation, the vision of the negation of something. However, they're both subjective understandings of dimension. And so when you move beyond something and nothing, where there truly is no language, people will say, well, no, it's nothing. It's just nothing. It's not even nothing. And it's like, yeah, but that's just dimensional thinking.
That's just another.
You have no. It's just the negation of dimension, which is just the negation of dimensional thinking. So it's not something or nothing. It has nothing to do with that. And so
I think people either forget, a lot of people either forget or simply don't understand, either way, that a lot of it is also simply language and its use. Basically, a word for you is not what it means to
duality and
me, is not
non-duality, right?
exactly. I mean,
Right.
of course, no words can even come
None.
to begin to describe what this is. Of course not. But
Right.
the other, its opposite assertion, which would be words can describe it, of course, is on the spur of the moment is true as well, because it is this. And
Yeah.
that's what I find absolutely fascinating, because that's what allows us to have what we call a conversation, for
Yeah.
example. And that's
Yeah.
just, and that we seem to be understanding each other, even though we're talking about the same no thing
Mm.
being
But it
this
is
very whatever.
well, it
Yeah.
is okay. It's non-duality. I mean, for my eyes, I didn't mean to interrupt
Yeah.
you.
No, no,
Are
no,
you?
sure, no. Go on, go on, go on, go on. Go
No,
on.
it's just something came to me where, yeah, this is how it plays out for me, how it seems to me that this is simply non-duality, uh, uh, expressing duality in order to it creates separation, the appearance of separation, the fact that
Yeah.
I can't know what you're thinking, you can't know what I'm thinking. However, we're trying to communicate intellect, and but the intellect is loosely based on an observer that cannot verify itself, and blah, 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 blah. But the funniest thing is no matter how deeply you want to look into it, the funnier it gets, because um we're essentially not separate, looking at each other as separate, talking about non-separation being neither dual or non-dual, being separate nor non-separate. It has the language itself can't touch really what it is at
No.
all. While it is essentially just a part of it, much like I'd like to say the initial veil that drops, say, between subject and object. Yeah, you'll say, all of a sudden, okay, oh, it's not something, it's nothing, and then from there, another veil will drop, and it'll be, yeah, and you'll see, an infinite amount of veils. And the thing about it is that the funniest thing is like this is how it can be for some non-dualists who seem very adamant and angry, and they want it is just this. There must be this way, and what they're saying is, what they're doing is they're
That's a very good,
taking, yeah, it
a very
must
good
be this
performance right
way,
there, Howard.
and they're taking this veil that drops between subject and object, and separation and not separation, and then okay, so it's not duality, it's non-duality, and then from non-duality, from it's just this and there's nothing beyond it, essentially creating separation between what you know
Yeah.
and what you cannot know, or what you understand and what is beyond understanding. And what is beyond understanding or knowledge is what is beyond the immediate experience, which is not even an experience. So it's not relative to another position, and it's not all of this stuff is
Mm-hmm.
just so ridiculously um irrelevant.
It is.
And it's to say, well, no, there's no you doing anything. Well, you kind of are, and you kind of aren't, and
Yeah.
you do, and you don't, and there's all kinds of different, millions of different little nuances there.
Yeah.
That
Exactly.
the beauty of it is
And
that
that infinite, those
it
nuances, infinite.
is
It's
totally infinite.
fucking
There's
wonderful.
no, in the very finite sense that you can choose and pick whatever way you want to,
Of course. Yeah.
move through
Yeah.
these, millions of decisions you make in a millisecond, right? Every one of those milliseconds is that way infinitely. You will be here infinitely as the identity in that way that time and space exists. However, it doesn't exist as either infinite or finite. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually both. You move through every possible, possibility that has already been forever. But so you're kind of making a decision that's already been made
Yeah.
um, at the same time, and
Mm-hmm.
because
It's
it's
fucking
not time or
wonderful. I mean,
space, it's not one or the other either.
no.
It's literally both at the same time, and every subtle nuance in between. So you actually do and don't at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, people will start to give up. Oh my God, because my last veil, I was told, was the true veil, the last veil, the the veil of all veil. It never
but
stops.
but
It
but
never
but
ends.
the beauty, it never stops. I'm completely with you. But the beauty of it, if you believe this, really truly believe this is your last veil, then it
Yeah,
will be your last veil. At
yeah,
least you will experience it like this,
yeah.
and
Oh yeah, you sit there like a dog.
that's what's wonderful. Because I'm
Yeah,
completely with you. But that's what's
yeah,
wonderful. And
yeah.
so
If you want to sit in that cave and say
exactly,
that cave is the only that's all that exists, then you'll sit in that cave, and that's all.
and that's what
Unless
like
out of nowhere you get your bell rung, which is beautiful. More than likely, it's not
mm,
like for me. It wasn't up to me
no,
to have my bell rung. But I just got my bell rung, and that's what got me thinking a lot about this stuff. Is like, yeah, okay, I didn't do that, but I kind of did at the same time. It's like it's the weirdest kind of dance, the nuance. It's almost like ballroom dancing in a way with you and your environment. You know, and people will say, well, you lead in that respect. No, not really. She allows you to lead.
mm-hmm.
The environment allows you a certain amount of control in the appearance. You
The
think you're
appearance, yeah,
controlling her, but what's really happening is she's allowing you to feel as if you're controlling her. And so, but the thing is that you kind of are and you kind of aren't,
yeah,
because she's chosen you to partner up with, and that's a beautiful thing.
yeah.
That you appear to exist at all as the oculus of understanding, or the totality of what appears to be your happening, not happening, or however you want to say all that. Um, the beauty of it is that people will say, "Well, there's nobody there doing anything." I beg to differ.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The reality is that you cannot take me, the self, the death of self, the you, the physical me, all of that kind of stuff. You can't take that out of what appears to be happening.
No,
And just
exactly.
say,
I'm with you.
you can
Yeah.
say that it's not definitional or foundational. You can say that it's infinite regress. You can say that it's not me actually thinking at times, and sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. But the one thing that you cannot say is that one way or the other. You can say,
Mm,
I have no idea. And in that unknowability is the infinite part of the infinite regress, which is the infinite amount of veils that drop. To say that is a belief, and
yeah.
it is a very shallow one, and
Yeah.
very, and what you're doing is you're taking your, not you, yeah, I say you, and then people say, "Oh no, I'm not doing that." No, I mean, what the audience, somebody in the audience may be doing, or someone in a particular vein of non-duality may be doing, is that they are um, saying that that last veil um, was the only one, and then they fly that flag everywhere, and then realize all of a sudden, either by action or by logic, which is, I mean, it actually dropping for you and you realizing that one can drop are two different things. However, the um, the realization that, wait a minute, you know, um, the fact that I can't know is the infinite aspect of the
Mm-hmm.
regress, which, so the more you realize that you don't know anything at all, the more you look, be inquisitive, look everywhere you want to look, and it will show you. In the end, you cannot know the fundamental nature of anything because there's no nature there. It's
Mm-hmm.
not even nature or essence or anything like that. And it requires nothing in regards to the appearance of cause and effect and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So the beauty of it being that it's not that you can't know, it's that knowledge is irrelevant, you know.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you realize that, yeah, you're not separate, just like subject and object is not separate, but then you don't try to put another separation on the next thing.
No,
You're not,
exactly.
you know what I mean? You realize you just don't know, and let it flow, and realize
Mm-hmm.
that it veils drop all the time.
Uh, they do, and no, I'm completely with you. They do, and I'd say for me, like what I think I mean, even that doesn't make much sense. But what I could say is, I used to feel bad to actually pay attention to what I feel and stuff like that a
Yeah,
lot,
yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
lot, a lot,
Oh
and
yeah. You
that
feel bad for feeling.
like yeah, and that has just stopped.
It's-
I mean that's what I and so what's life was seen to be something that was heavy, not why would you stuff like that, like all the time, so much, like, and what I can say is that it's been replaced with some, not something, but let's say for sake of words, let's say something much lighter, much
well,
happier. Again,
for me,
we're just talking words here, but
the death of self is a celebration.
It
The
it
death of
re-
self is a celebration
it really is. It really
because
is
it you
unbelievable
you
because it's beyond any of my hopes
yes,
back then. It's
yes,
beyond
yeah,
beyond any of my
yes.
understanding, and
That's right,
beyond any
right.
of my of the despair. Beyond, it's just and and yes, it is plain ordinary, absolutely, but it's plain
Sure.
extraordinary as well. It's
Yeah.
plain
Well, that's
extraordinary
the
as well.
funniest thing. The whole need to be ordinary or morose. It's like, okay, well, wait a minute. Using these people their own logic. Okay, if you're saying that it's ordinary, ordinary must have something comparable to it.
Nah.
Um, in order to be that, because if what you're saying is it's just this, means that it's not time and space. There's nothing next to it. There's nothing to
Mhm.
compare it to. The very mundane is exceedingly, like, it will never be that way again. In fact, every moment is an original that cannot be um that cannot happen again. So
you know,
how is that ordinary? How is that mundane? How is that yeah,
how
it just seems to me that, yeah, it's
it,
almost
it,
like people are wearing a badge of honor that says I'm depressed. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And in the most incredible set of circumstances. I mean, it's like, what in the world is ordinary about that? I mean, how can no one moment from one from
what But again, I think it just talks to a certain type of people seekers, whatever you want, you know. I think that's all it is really. But
I
uh
agree with you. I think I know what you're saying there. I agree with you.
I do think like, I mean, hearing for me, right, hearing Tony Parsons the first time was a massive wow, you know, it really
Yeah.
was, it really
Yeah.
was. Um, but him, not and a few other ones, sure, but
Yeah.
you're taking the few here, but then the it seems to me that there's so much of that.
It to me it seems it's like cockroaches
It's a
skirt.
tasteless copy. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not
Right.
saying they intend to copy. I'm not saying that. Okay, I don't know, and frankly, I don't care. But what I'm saying is, that is boring. That is boring.
Well, you know, to
But
me it's
the very essence of it is it's life. It's anything but boring. It's just plain full on juice. Do you know what I mean? It's plain full on beauty. It's plain full on and anything, sensations, anything. It's
somebody
just
somebody somebody said the other day
wonderful.
to me, yeah, I was
Yeah.
watching this thing that said this lady said, what do you say to the people that are saying that radical non-duality is kind of a cult, because you guys are all saying the same thing. And the guy said, and this is one of the more popular guys. I don't want to go negative here, and I'm
No,
not
no,
going
okay,
to
okay,
name
sure,
names,
sure,
but
sure.
he said something that made me cringe right away. Well,
Mm-hmm.
who is it that's going to be in the cult? Oh, who could be in a cult? There's no one here. And I'm like, that's very much like a cockroach scurrying under the counter when the lights come on. Because that's not the nature of the question, you know. And
No.
that makes me wonder. Right? I was like, "Ew," you know, but the thing about it is the limitation of the teaching itself is it is rather depressing, and for me just no nobody I've ever met in my life that I would consider um having had a glance or whatever you want to say it. I mean, humbly, the enlightenment experience and all this other kind of thing. Nobody I've ever met in my life that I truly would consider enlightened has
Mm.
ever been like anything other, like they literally have their own way about them, you know, and it could be any kind of way,
Yeah,
they could be any way they wish to
but
be,
that
but there's all manner of kinds of,
because for
but
me,
none of them would go and ask someone else, how to
No, but
talk about
I'm completely with you, and for me that's the
it.
thing, right?
Yeah,
Okay, for as real as it can be, okay, but
yeah,
let's call it real death of self
yeah,
is actually allowing life to be you
yeah,
fully,
yeah. Grateful for the moment as it
That's
appears.
it.
Yes,
Exactly, that's it.
yeah,
It's not any other way. It's not any other way,
mhm,
and and sure, it can actually it can include copying, you know, or copying or whatever, you know, or being part of a cult or whatever else, you know. But
yeah,
it just doesn't matter anymore because it's just you're you. You're
yeah.
actually
And
by realizing there is no one, if I can say so, you are fully you, and
I agree. Yes,
that's just
yes.
wonderful. That's
You're
just
just not
the greatest
foundational.
gift in the world. That
Yeah.
there's just no foundation, but that's it. And it's
Yeah.
because there's no foundation that it can be anything, and
Well, just
that you are anything, and the unknowability.
the unknowability of it is the freedom. And so it's not that you're searching for answers, but you're
No,
just looking around going, wow, how beautiful is this? I mean,
it's exactly.
but there's no
It's
nullification. There's nobody trying to inhibit you or
mhm,
stopping you from going to look around. What
mhm.
I think what that teaching does is it keeps people in a loop that just keeps that kind
I,
of
I don't know.
stuck.
I don't know. I think for some, and I think for some, I mean, to be fair, that they all say it's not a teaching. To be fair, and
Yeah,
that I completely hear. I mean,
yeah.
it really isn't a teaching, in that way. But it's I think for some it really keeps them in the loop, and for some it's the message that we're waiting for, 10 years, their whole life, for all I know, because it is the final end of. I mean, I can hear anything, but at the end of the day, it's just irrelevant. You know what I mean? It's just completely irrelevant.
It really
It's
truly is.
just
It truly, truly is
yeah.
completely irrelevant. And a lot of what they, and again, this is with the caveat, uh Max, that I loved what Andreas had to say, and I love what a lot of these people have to say. I just don't I can't adhere to this notion that you're a seeker if you're, I mean, if you're not thinking about it in this particular way. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Mhm.
Because it's just one of an infinite amount of ways to appear to be you, to look at these things in this way. I mean, you can do whatever you like, and that is the beauty of it. You can be and
That's
do
it.
and feel and think and whatever you like.
I
It
mean, I
does
mean,
not. You don't have to adhere to.
without any foundation, you actually do what you want, and yes, there are the limits of the appearance, of course, but
Mm,
within that, there is a certain kind of freedom, and
yeah.
that. I mean, it's to say that there isn't,
Mm.
is plain lie,
The
or plain
unknowability is
illusion.
the
Is
freedom.
exactly,
Yeah,
yeah.
because if it will not be any one particular thing, because if it was any one particular thing, then you could define it, or you could describe it, or you could
Mm.
name it, or you could say it's this or something like that. But you could say it's this, but you can't describe what this is.
Well,
I mean,
you can say it's this, but that's all you can do. You can
yeah,
say it's
I mean,
this.
what the hell is this? What the hell is it? You could have an infinite amount of time and never be able to explain
Mm,
it. So,
yeah.
that's the beauty of it. The fact that the most obvious thing is unexplainable infinitely. And therefore, what we are in is something that cannot be encapsulated or encompassed or
Ever.
defined. It is anarchistically free in that it can be chained up if it wants to be. Just as in these people in this radical non-duality stuff, who I just love and don't want to have any beef with at all.
No,
But
no, me
it
neither.
just
There's
seemed
no harm intended here. Really none.
it
Yeah.
just seemed
Mm,
like like
I,
uh like quicksand or something. Like
mm.
you get into this predicament. Well, you're not thinking, however, you're doing something wrong, but that's the seeker energy wanting to be right. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. If you're not thinking, how
How
can you
could
do
you?
something wrong? If I'm not doing anything, and how is that incorrect? How can anything be incorrect? And,
Mhm.
that's just seeker energy. Blah 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 blah. I'm like, whoa, whoa, wait, wait, whoa, 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 whoa. Wait a minute. If I am not thinking and I am not controlling any observation whatsoever, then I am being expressed completely as X, Y, and Z. So it's not me doing it. So what is the point of any of this ridiculous nonsense?
None.
Other than wanting to tie yourself into a pretzel because you want to feel as if perhaps what you do means something, or because really a lot of people can't handle, or a lot of appearances can't seem to handle the freedom, the anarchistic freedom that actually is available to them. And you know though it may seem like, oh shit, yeah, okay, now I'm anarchistically free, and it's still just this, it it becomes, a thing like, well, now am I really actually doing something wrong because I'm not seeing what these people are seeing? And so it's a funny little game that gets
It,
played.
but
Yeah.
it's an endless game.
Yeah.
Except that that's the beauty, because I mean, so long as you, I said, as you try to win, then you can lose, and so long as you think you lose, you can win. Blah blah. But
Yes.
if it's just a game,
Yeah.
that's fun. That's actually
I
fun.
I agree. And
No,
one
it's
of the
yeah.
I think it's amazing that like Lazu, some of the older people, they're like generals. They're leading people into combat. However, they're thinking of it in terms of a game. I mean, it's like, look, I have to do this well or whatever. And it's a somber situation. However, they're not thinking in terms of, oh no, it's world peace. They're thinking sometimes war has to happen, and this is what I am in a position now to actually guide people into battle. That is how incredibly bizarre non-duality can be.
Mm,
Unconditional love representing itself as a general riding soldiers into battle, you know,
yeah,
to kill each
yeah,
other. I mean, it's literally that free. And
yeah.
so you can find yourself in peculiar situations. And that's, it's not so much, the mundane aspect. It's when things get really hairy and you can go,
Mm,
wow, yeah, this is,
yeah.
this is incredible, really to be experiencing.
It
And
really is. It
yeah,
really
and
is.
yeah, so I think a lot of people have a tough time,
No,
reconciling it.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
I think, I mean, a lot of people need uh a certain sets of rules, actually,
yeah, yeah,
to for it to be okay. It's within that pattern, saying there is none, but
right,
it's
right,
within that pattern anay, you know.
yeah, yeah,
And why not?
yeah,
Why not? I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I hearing some of the radical non-dual speakers, and I'm talking about the most known ones here, really, without mentioning anyone really, but
hmm
that did help me, undeniably so, and I'll always be thankful for that. But
hmm
the joke of it now being like everyone just blah 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 blah, like it's I'm like, it's like if there was nothing to hear,
hmm
you actually heard something and you're copying what you heard. Does that make
yeah,
sense? I mean,
yeah.
it's like,
Oh yeah.
sorry, but there's something that doesn't add up
Well,
here. You know what I
it's
mean?
a belief. You're choosing. You're choosing to believe. Okay, and you're believing to choose. And it's like, dude, you cannot know one way or the other. That's
You
the
cannot.
freedom. I'm not
No,
saying you
exactly.
you
No
may be
way.
right, but you may be wrong. So
Yeah.
what's the point? You don't
Mm,
know. Well, yes, I've seen that before. Yes, I'm expressed
mm,
and completely, totally expressed,
mm-hmm.
already whole and complete. And then at other times, I am expressed as something that expresses itself, and
Yeah.
that's nothing for what non-duality can do. Um,
No.
it just literally at the whisper of a wink, it can create the universe and dissolve it again in a
Yeah.
millisecond. It literally
Just
has
like
no
that.
limit
Yeah. Yeah.
whatsoever. And it
Yeah.
can be separation and not separation simultaneously, and
And
often
so
is.
what I find amazing is and I'm going to use a forbidden word here, but the power that any so-called individual has is
Yeah.
actually tremendous. Is actually and
Well,
nothing at the same time. But
yeah.
it, it and by have, I don't mean you own it. I certainly don't mean that. I just mean like on the spur of the moment, you are that.
Yeah,
That's what you are. So I mean,
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
you're being
okay.
expressed, and yeah, go on.
I'm sorry, yeah, yeah. You are that in that. Um, if there's nothing separate, right, and you
Hmm.
are an expression of non-duality,
Hmm.
well, then you are non-duality. You are
Exactly,
non-duality making a decision.
exactly,
You know what I'm saying?
exactly,
So the
exactly,
illusion
exactly,
becomes the reality,
exactly.
and if that's not, the power would be labor over something else, and because you are, I mean, everything, you're just playing a game. However, at the same time, you have the power within that illusion of
Yeah.
separation that's not separate, but you're aware of it too. So you can
Exactly.
have the power of
Exactly.
non-duality and duality simultaneously, and it
Exactly.
goes deeper than that because it's not that you are separate from your environment, and at the same time, you can have that nuance, almost like with electromagnetism, you can have magnets appearing to um, the what seems like effect on one another reach
Mm,
beyond the appearance of the object. So you have attraction, and and
yeah.
so with like a regular object, it can almost work in the same way. And I know that sounds really hokey, but it can feel that way sometimes.
Absolutely.
Serendipity, in that things just happen in these weird ways that you see premonitions, and this is all manner
No,
of things
no,
that
but of
happen.
course, of course. Like, I mean, I've seen myself many things before it happens. You know,
Yes,
I can't deny that. I mean, so I mean, it's never exactly like I thought it would. No, but there's a certain feel to it, a certain
yeah,
genuine,
yeah,
undeniable, and sometimes that it's actually crazily accurate. The thing
mm,
is, I think, I mean, some people may feel a need for it, which
yeah,
can be where it's destructive because you
right.
need to know what's going to happen because
Well,
you're
you try
afraid
to
because blah blah
validate
blah,
yourself,
and
right?
that's where yeah,
Yeah.
of course. But if it's of course that would happen, of course. I mean, for
Mm.
me, like yeah,
But,
undeniably
but
happened.
it's in the unknowability of the depth of self, the self, the you, all these different titles, that these different aspects of what amounts to nothing there, right? Which is just another name. We can call it the nothing that's there. It's just another name for Howard. So the nothing that's there that's named Howard. You know what I mean? And so here, I'm just gonna call him Howard. Okay. So we go
Mhm,
360. We're back to where we start. And here I am,
exactly.
Howard. That
And
says
Howard
X,
and
Y, and Z.
Max, and that's
It's
it. Yeah,
Howard and Max. And then that is what it is. And
exactly.
essentially, now we have, through the appearance of conversation, figured out what we mean by our name. You know what I mean? And
Isn't that
so,
wonderful? Isn't that absolutely
yeah,
wonderful?
I mean, it only took an hour.
Only took an hour. Only took an hour just.
But what else do we have to talk about? You know, and so and the thing about it is that all of that is also irrelevant now because it's
Completely,
in the apparent
completely,
memory.
and
Yeah,
all of that's just gone, just like it's freaking fantastic.
I love you, man. I'm so
Wow,
glad that we
wow,
were able to
wow.
talk again, man. I love you, man.
Oh God,
Dude,
no,
I think
thank you.
you said you had an appointment,
Yeah,
and
I'm gonna have to head off now, but it's been really lovely, and
I
it's
love you,
what a
brother.
I love you too. What a bloody perfect way to. Oh wow, just
Merry Christmas, man.
Merry Christmas to you too. And yeah, speak anytime. Honestly, Howard. Yeah, really cool.
Sure. Hey, man,
Yeah,
hang on one second. Let me get you while I shut this down, and let me talk to you
yeah,
one more
yeah. Cool,
second.
cool, cool, cool. Cool.
Thanks.